Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Today on Races of the Worlds, we are going to talk about the Klikloque. Most people, pardon the artwork. This is not what the Klikloque looks like. This is their ship. Okay, now as you see down here, I've written the other name people know them by, which is the Mantis. Okay, they are by Terran comparison, as in by what people see on Earth, they look very much like a praying mantis. Now, pardon the artwork. My artwork has never been something to write nice things home about. This is why it's not in any books. Okay, but that being said, when we take a look at this race, okay, they are natural colors, meaning browns, greens, blacks, and occasionally you'll come up with a little bit of white. Gray more often than white, that's for certain. Okay, they do run on average around about the 7 foot height as an adult. Okay, they speak, as you can well imagine, considering they do happen to have mandibles for the front of their jaw. They do tend to speak in clicks and words, that sort of thing. Not to mention, part of their language is done by literally rubbing the carapace on their arms together. So, when you take a look at Terran-based communication, okay, when you're looking at sign language, there's a lot of moving your hands. You'd think I was deaf or something, which is quite possible. But with the Klikloque, they have a tendency of, while talking, they will rub their hands together at the same time, because it's that change in the vibration that they listen to that actually creates their language. Okay, now if you'll notice the top of their ship, okay, it's a wider top, and then you've got the lower base. Well, the reality of it is that this entire upper array is a communications array. That is how they pull their information in. Okay. Now, the nice part about it, they do have 4 arms. Well, this is the problem with luck. Pardon me. This is why I call this a live recording, because I don't go back and edit anything out. What you see is what you get. Okay. Now, like I was saying, well, that threw me off track a bit. Where the Klikloque they do have 4 legs and 2 arms. So whenever they're walking around, they do not walk around bipedal ever. Well, I shouldn't say ever. If they're trying to reach something way up, they will stand on their hind legs. Okay, but when they're walking around and traveling about, they do walk on 4. Okay. Their heads, as if you're aware of the Mantis race at all, the Klikloque have a basically triangular shaped head with the elongated front jaw, which is usually something about that long. Okay, now of course people have asked why the governments don't turn around and go, here, these guys are here. Well, I'll tell you, there's enough people that are afraid of bugs that are only that long. Picture what's going to happen if you see something that looks similar to a praying mantis, and yet is 7 feet tall. Okay, that means when it's standing up on 4 legs, the top of its head is approximately the 7 foot mark. Okay, now these guys are strictly vegetarian. Okay, so anybody that's worried about that side of it, the Klikloque are a vegetarian race. Okay, that's just the way they operate. So yeah, they go through a fair chunk of food, as any zoologist will tell you. Being vegetarian takes a lot more food than what a carnivore does. But on the plus side, when they do abduct somebody, you don't have to worry about them eating you. Okay, that just doesn't happen. They aren't that way inclined. Now, there is only one mother. Okay, the queen mother is the only one that lays the eggs. Okay, and they are then raised in a hatchery. Some of the children that are born are born knowing they're working in the nursery. They are very much, not exactly a hive mind, but they are a community mind, meaning they are all interlinked. They have individual aspirations, they have individual drives, but they are all in constant communication, and they are linked right through the Queen Mother. Okay, that communication, if the easiest way, if you're thinking in terms of how do you disrupt the hive, well, easy. If you take the queen out of the equation, then quite frankly, the rest of the race is no longer in communication with each other, save for verbal or auditory communication lines. And obviously, that's got limited distance. The Queen Mother, on the other hand, has a range that is, from human standpoints, almost incalculable. Okay. Now, as you can well imagine, with the Queen, they are run as a monarchy, with a matriarch at the top. Okay, now, they are, much as they are vegetarian, they are also very military-based. So these are not a pushover race by any functional stretch. Okay, when you're looking at them, at their outlook, they are explorers, but they go into it with the idea, they go into the communication line, or into the exploration line, with the idea of, is this new race a threat? Their exploration of Earth, of what they call Sol 4, is very much a question to assess the threat level of the human race. Now, at this point, from their standpoint, humans are a dangerous commodity in as much as they're a very young race and already extremely volatile. Okay, they're already very, very aggressive, and to the Klikloque, this is a problem. Okay, however, before you get on that wonderful idea, understand the Klikloque are not looking for colonization. They are not looking for conquest. They are simply looking to assess damage potential to their own people. Okay, so obviously, with them, at least we think it's obvious, with them being military based, their entire justice system is based on military law. Okay, and as you can well imagine, that's going to end up in one of two things. Either essentially a court-martial, or if it's bad enough, termination. Okay. Now, of course, there are lesser degrees of discipline that they work with. Well, that was really poorly said. Anyway, with the Klikloque, they're a really interesting race. They do have a bit of a problem with one other race, and we will get to it in a while, in another show. But basically, and we're going to have to look this one up. This is why we wrote it all down. See, unfortunately, our memory for names in the real world, as far as with people go, is bad enough. Okay, but the Talon, the Klikloque and the Talon are a very, very conflicted race. And in another, probably the next video, as a matter of fact, I think we'll just make a note of that if we can figure out. There we are. This is called live recording. Okay, so we're making a note right now. And our next race, the next race we deal with next week will be the Talon, which are an ant race. They're an ant-appearing race anyway. Okay, and now that I made a note for myself, that means I can get that done properly. But the Klikloque, yes, they're military, which means in combat they are really hard to go up against because they think from a tactical standpoint. Okay, they are, when we talk about their temperament, they are very much of the attitude that if there is a threat, you do not wait. You ignore all kinds of other things going on. As a combative race goes, they do not worry about about what humans call collateral damage. Klikloque, if they're going in on a military maneuver, all peoples, men, women, children, pacifists, aggressors, politicians, clergy, commoners, wealthy, doesn't matter. Everybody is a target. If you're a member of the race that they have deemed is a threat to them, they will go in with one thing in mind: wipe it out. Now, the good news there is Earth itself is under the protection of the Galactic Consortium, which means even if the Klikloque themselves were to feel that the human race was a threat, they would not, and they are not permitted to do anything about it until when mankind leaves Earth completely, as it starts long-range exploration. They've already left Earth. Okay, but when mankind starts long-range exploration and is outside of their own area, then they become fair game. And if the Klikloque have decided, and at this point they have not come to a definitive conclusion as to where mankind fits in the threat range, if they decide that it's a problem, you can bet they will take out the ship without even blinking. Which means mankind does have some things they have to look into regarding interstellar travel. Okay, and hopefully they're already looking into this. But understand, the Klikloque use aggression as a last resort. They are interested in their own survival. Okay, so they do focus on the scientific side of things. They do focus on how to build their civilization, but they are not at this point looking to colonize another planet, at least not another occupied one, that's for certain. Okay, now, the reason that we held this up before is because this is their ship. Okay, it is basically, don't know if it looks like it from your standpoint, but basically it is an acorn shape. We were asked a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months back. As a matter of fact, if we recall rightly, it would have been the beginning of December. We were asked about which race handles the acorn-shaped race, the acorn-shaped ships. Okay, and that would be the Klikloque. Okay, these are their long-range ships. They are multi-level. Okay, and like we said, the whole top of the whole upper deck is an array for collecting. You'll notice, and again, artwork is really bad, but you'll notice this dome here. Well, the reason for that is that it helps them keep oriented going in the right direction, because they've got an entire sensor array on top of that dome that picks it up depending on which way they're going. Okay. By the way, just for your edification, there's one other purpose with that dome. Okay, and that is they use that as an energy collector so that they can also, most of what the Klikloque build is multi-purpose. And that dome, not only is it a sensor array for taking readings of what's going on in the galaxy around them, but it's also a collector for the energy, for their engines. Okay, now, I'm pretty certain that we talked about an engine called the OTE drive, the oscillator densification of the Ferrari transcendental equipolarity. Now, this is a engine that is designed for interstellar travel. They use a variation on it. Okay, and if you want to hear more about that, absolutely ask. Okay, we don't have specs in scientific terms because, well, frankly, I'm not a scientist. Okay, everything I talk about is stuff I've learned firsthand. Okay, so with that in mind, the Klikloque, also known to most people as the Mantis race, they are an aggressive race when threatened, but it's kind of like a badger on Earth. If you leave them alone, they won't bother you. If you poke at them, if you may become aggressive towards them, they will retaliate with everything at their disposal, and you really don't want to have that happen. Because, just to be clear, when you take a look at this, this is the top, this is the communication array. The ship travels along this way, but their main gun is down here. Okay, now picture, if you will, a main gun with that kind of firepower. Okay, now that's not the biggest weapon that we've seen, but it is a nasty size. And considering it fires straight energy, okay, with a sonic umbrella, with a sonic sheath, that's the word I was looking for. It can do a lot of damage in very short order by just settling over top of a location. But the Klikloque themselves are primarily, much as they are military organized, they are scientifically driven. They are looking at their own race, at how their race is evolving. Now, you can communicate with them in clicks and pops. Okay. They do not expect you to, because they've learned how to do that so that the races that are not built like them can communicate. It's much like another race, the Swarzazian, which we've talked about before. The Swarzazian have a color band down here. Well, humans can't talk that way. Okay, much like the Klikloque have their language tied right into their forearms. And it's almost like playing a violin when you think about it. You know, they put the one forearm down, and the other one comes across like this. Okay, now they do that while they are chattering, and they can cover a staggering amount of information at the same time that way. Okay, hopefully this has made sense to you, and I should have said this a long time ago, so we're going to tie it off this way. The first Friday night of every month. Oh, there we go again. The first Friday night of every month. Okay, we are on Spaced Out Radio on the internet. SpacedOutRadio.com. You know, there's a lot of places to find us. Just go onto YouTube and look up the ET Connection with R. Keith Andrews, and you'll find us. Okay, but we come on at that point. Okay, and you can ask questions there, or at any one of the points listed below this video. Absolutely, drop us a line. We'll be more than happy to get back to you. Okay. Throat's getting dry. Hence luckily in my nice little coffee cup. Now, the neat part about all of this. I'm going to have to do something about that. Anyway, if you like the video, absolutely give us a thumbs up. We'd love it. We'd love to have you on board. Subscribe to our channel so you can get the rest of the videos as they come out. And absolutely share it with your friends. Share it with the people you know. We have been on a few different radio shows, and are more than willing to sit down with a radio, with another company to sit down and talk to them. Okay, or for that matter, we've also spoken at a number of different conferences. And yeah, right now they're on hold, but just something to keep in mind. We were asked about Nevada, and as we told people, if I'm invited to Nevada or to anywhere else, I will do my best to get there. Right now, we got a little bit of a hold up. But again, we're going to tie this off. So thank you very much for joining me. And until we meet again, until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.